Everybody, this equation right here is going to end up being an ellipse. Okay? Now, this could end up being one of two equations. If your major axis is going the longest horizontally, this is what your equation will end up looking like. However, if your major axis is going longest vertically, you're going to lead out with your y's. Now, you don't have to do this, but you do need to understand that your major axis will be the longest if it's going vertically, or it's the longest going horizontally. Okay? So we're going to have one of these two equations possibly. Okay? The first thing you're going to do is you need to group all of your x's together. So what I'd like you to do on your paper, put 25x squared minus 50x. Okay? I'm going to put plus an open box, because eventually we're going to complete the square. Plus, not y squared, plus 9y squared, minus 90y, plus empty box. The one thing I'm going to do just to make this a little bit easier, I'm just going to take this 25, just going to subtract it from both sides, just going to move it across. So I'm going to say equals a negative 25, and eventually, whatever goes in the blue box, I got to add over here. Whatever goes in the green box, I got to add over here. So whatever I add to one side, I have to add to the other side eventually. So that's the very first thing I want you to do. Set everything up, group all of your x's together, group all of your y's together, and then take this number right here and move it across the equal sign. All right, now that you have this written down, we cannot complete the square when you have a coefficient or a number that's greater than a 1. It's got to be equal to a 1. So what we're going to have to do in the blue part, the blue expression, you need to factor out the 25. And in the green expression, you have to actually factor out a 9. So if we factor out a 25 out of this expression right here, we're going to be left with x squared minus 2x, and then I'm going to keep the box inside of this parentheses. So now that we factored out a 25, we're now going to factor out a 9, which leaves us with a y squared minus, when I factor out a 9 out of here, what am I going to be left with? 10, right? Minus 10y. Equals negative 25 plus whatever I'm going to get inside of here and the value is going to go in the green box. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, okay? Because now I need to complete the square. This number right here will always be the b value divided by 2 squared. If you're wondering what the b value is, this is my b value. I'm going to label it. My b value is a negative 2. So go ahead, Ryan. What is half of negative 2?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So negative 1 squared is
1.
Positive 1. Very good. Now this is where students mess up. If they put a 1 here, a lot of times they put a 1 right over there. And you can't just simply put a 1 there, because this 1 is actually being multiplied by this 25. So instead of putting a 1 right here, everybody, I'm actually going to put the number 25, because this number 1 is actually being multiplied by the 25. This is the b value of my second quadratic right here. All right?
You get negative 5, and then you multiply that by itself, which gives 25.
So put 25 here. Very good. So half of negative 10 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. But then, what do I have to take this 25 and multiply by?
By 9.
By 9. So I have to do 9 times 25.
Which is 225.
225. Very good. So put 225 right there. This right here, everybody, is the trickiest part. This is where students will make a mistake. They'll forget to multiply by the number on the outside of the parentheses. Okay? So let's see what we have left now. Here's what we have left. We have 25. We're going to learn how to factor this right here. Plus 9. Doing double parentheses because we're going to factor this expression and we're going to factor this expression. Alright? Equals. Now, if I combine all of these together right here, everybody, if I have negative 25 plus 25, that cancels out to 0. So I'm simply left with 225 over here on the right. Now, I have to take x squared minus 2x plus 1 and factor it into two binomials. I know I'm going to have an x and an x. Well, what number am I going to plug in here and here? It will always be whatever the b value is divided by 2. So we're going to put a, what's half of this? Negative 1. So put a minus 1 here and a minus 1 here. Same thing goes for the green. I'm just taking the b value and dividing it by 2. So this becomes y minus 5 and y minus 5. Now here's how it works. Check your answer. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. That's how you can check to make sure you actually factored it correctly. What do these two numbers have to add up to equal? The b value. What do they multiply to equal? The c value. Okay? Now that you have this in your journal, you're going to simplify it even more. If you have x minus 1 times x minus 1, that's x minus 1 squared. If you have y minus 5 times y minus 5, that is y minus 5 squared. And what is that always equal to? Not always equal to. What is it equal to here? 225. Now that you've written that down, what is an ellipse always going to equal when you guys finish up? What's it going to end up equaling? 1.
Oh, 1.
The reason why I say that, Ryan, I'm going to scroll up real quick, right? Remember, we're going to either get it to this equation, right, or this equation. Both of them are equal to what? 1. So since it's not equal to 1, the very last step I'm going to do, whatever I get over here on the far right, everybody, that's what you're going to divide everything.
No, make it 1.
Yeah. So that's the part that you didn't have to do with the circle. Okay? You have to do it with an ellipse, but you didn't have to do it with a circle.
Does that happen to
Any ellipse. At the very end, that's what you're going to do at the very last
even
step.
if it is 1?
Oh, if it's 1, yeah, you still divide everything by 1. Here's why.
Because 1 divided by 1 is 1.
Right, but then you would put x minus 1 squared over 1, and you put y minus 5 squared over 1. This time, 25 goes into 225 how many times? It goes into it 9 times. Plus 9 goes into 225 how many times? 25 times, that's right. And now this is all equal to a 1. Now, if you guys left it like this, I would not mark it wrong. It's still, listen, it really doesn't matter which order, but I need you guys to understand that actually is your a squared, and this is your b squared. Your a squared is not the first one. A squared is always going to be the what? It's always going to be the biggest. So I'm going to rewrite this before I put the answer down. Here's your final answer I'd like you to put on your paper. I'd like you to lead out with your y's, okay?
What number is this?
Oh,
4.
4.
You're going to hurry, right?
1 second. This is what I'd like you to put on your paper right now. We're going to use this information to now find all of the other pieces of information for our ellipse. All right. We need to know what our A value is. We need to know what our B value is. And we need to find our C value. What's our A value?
What?
Oh,
A
A is 5. The B squared is 9, so our B value is a 3. in order to get the C, I need you guys to write a little formula down. Take the square root of whatever your A value is squared minus your B value squared, and the square root of those will give you your C value. So it's going to be the square root of 25 minus a 9, which is square root of 16, which equals 4. Now, this C value is going to help us with locating where our foci are, all right, which is the plural of a focus. If we're going vertically, everybody, which we are going to be going vertically when we graph this, I want you to understand the location of the foci is going to be H, comma, C, K, plus or minus whatever your C value is. So right now, can we locate our HK? What does our HK represent? It represents the center. So the center of our ellipse,
Will be
5 and a 1, which means our foci are going to be at 5, comma, 1 plus or minus, and I messed up here. Our HK, by the way, this represents our K value. This represents our H value. So our H value is actually 1. Our K value is a 5. So our foci is 1, comma, our K value, which is a 5, plus or minus a 4. Whenever you guys leave this out, it's a common mistake, and I made it too. This right here is your K value. This right here is your H value. So if you lead out with the Y's, make sure you don't mix up your center of your ellipse. Okay? If you do, make sure you catch it before you write it. Now, so what are our two foci? 1, comma, what's 5 plus 4? 9. And the other one is 5 minus 4. 1. So these right here are the location of the foci. Yep, plot them. So now we're going to go to our paper. We're going to plot everything correctly on our paper. So right here, I'm going to rewrite our formula. Y minus 5 squared over 25 plus x minus 1 squared over 9 equals 1. So there's our equation. Now I'm going to plot the center of my ellipse, my center, which is the HK. It's going to be at 1, comma 5 over 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. Just remember, your A value, everybody, your A value was a 5, and your B value was a 3. So my A value from right here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a point. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a point. B value, I'm going over 3 to the right from the center. Over 3 to the left from the center. These are the vertices. So when I ask you, what are the vertices of the ellipse? These are the vertices that I just plotted. Because that gives you the vertices you need to draw your ellipse. So there's your ellipse right there. So how many vertices do you have? You have 4 of them. All right, here's all the location of the vertices. There's the 1, 10, the 4, 5, the 1, 0, and the negative 2, 5. The last thing you're going to plot is your foci. Your foci are right here at a 1, 9 and a 1, 1. So I'm going to label the foci now. At a 1, 9 and a 1, comma 1. So now you have all of your vertices, you have your center, and your graph. That's all of your answers right there. Your center, your equation, your vertices, and your foci.